When I originally wrote this script, the first line was, "This may go down as my favorite slab phone ever." 3 months later, and I have to say it again, this may go down as my favorite slab phone ever. It's time for the breakdown. The OPPO FInd X7 Ultra is stunning in person. When you pick it up for the first time, you're met with a luxurious feel. The vegan leather and the double stitching on the back support this luxurious feel. And if that doesn't demonstrate the attention to detail, certainly the camera back will. Flawless detail, even though the primary focus is on the main sensor, all of the supporting sensors like the X6 series deliver as well. In this video though, I'm going to focus on the video portion. So even though this is really about smartphone photography, I actually took this to the Janet Jackson concert that had just passed, just like I did with the X6 Pro last year. And I'm going to go through and break down some of the things that I learned about this. However, in a few weeks, the Find X8 Ultra should be released. And then that's when I'll go through the operating system, I'll go through the different camera sensors and capabilities. And also I'll probably have Pixel 9 Pro XL. So I might do a 4-way comparison of them all. But I just wanted to see and show, because not everybody is aware that the footage that you're seeing is shot by the Lumix S5 full frame mirrorless camera. In fact, I've decided to shoot all B-roll in my small studio with the S5 because I'm able to achieve greater depth of field. Is it necessary? No, I just prefer the look on B-roll. However, the footage that you can get from a 1-inch sensor-based smartphone is still simply phenomenal. I wanted to point out that although I believe Vivo still has the best noise algorithm out of all the manufacturers as far as low light, I think Xiaomi and OPPO have really caught up. I still think they're behind, but we'll just look at this footage and I'll talk about some of the things that you can do that you might not necessarily think that you can do with a phone. Because if you've ever been in a concert situation, you know how harsh the lighting is and you know how people are moving around and all that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that you have to do. And I really think people that show up with phones like a Samsung or an Apple and they use the stock camera apps are really doing themselves a disservice, because you can't really fully take advantage of the sensor that you're using. But I think with the newer sensors that are smaller than the 1-inch, you actually start to see some improvements. But I typically use the 1-inch sensor because I know I'm going to be fighting low light, harsh lighting. Unless you're making a feature film out of your concert recordings, I would suggest 30 frames per second so that your footage feels more like you are there. This will then dictate that you use the shutter speed of 1/60. This will ensure that pleasing motion blur will be there for the viewer. Now, although this video has been uploaded at a maximum resolution of 1080p, all footage was shot at 4K 30. If you're at home watching this, you are not seeing the maximum capability of the Find X7 Ultra. Also, in these type of environments, you'll have to decide on how you control white balance, ISO, and focus. I always set the white balance to manual and leave that setting. Normally you could use a gray card, but in this scenario I try to focus on the stage and I'll let the smartphone pick a value in auto mode and I'll compare that to using the results by the eye. So adjusting in manual mode and looking at the viewfinder. Most of the time I'll go with the value that I set manually. Then I choose on how much light I let come into the sensor by setting its ISO value. What I find most concert scenarios that I use anywhere from around ISO 100 to ISO 500 with a 1-inch main sensor. The benefit of this is that in these low levels, you typically won't see any pattern to the noise that's being displayed by the camera sensor. Also, the signal at these levels of ISO will be much greater than the noise, so you won't actually perceive any noise in the shot. Note, I typically don't ever use auto ISO. The lights, such as this one here, can easily confuse the sensor to bump up the ISO, which will cause the overall scene to get brighter, and the noise that you couldn't perceive before would be extremely prevalent. Basically making your footage look like everyone else recording with their smartphones. Your final decision would be to use auto or manual focus. On most flagships, the autofocus is so good, depending on where you're standing, it could be the correct choice. Most flagships won't get fooled by multiple people on stage. However, if you have people in the audience getting in your way, such as what you're seeing here, whether it be objects such as hands, phones, or the back of someone's head, it could take the focus. So in that case, you could set up manual focus. Just make sure that you keep your phone in the same plane and are ready to adjust if the act moves from the focus point. Now, I just did a demonstration. I shot the whole concert in autofocus. I just made sure that I focused on the stage and made sure that no objects came in the shot. Just to recap, the OPPO FInd X7 Ultra is my favorite slab phone so far of all time. I have famously said the Pixel 8 Pro is my favorite Pixel. Now, slabs are getting so good. I could see the OPPO FInd X7 Ultra taking that spot, or the Pixel, OnePlus, Xiaomi. I can definitely see that. When I get them all together, I'll talk more about them as a phone because not everybody's into cameras, and these have a lot to offer as well. So any comments, put them down in the comment section below. And if there's any other questions, hit me up. And with that, we're out.